let's talk about toxic masculinity.
Oh God.
Or masculinity in
Oh,
general.
God.
Let's
What
talk
does
about
that?
toxic
What does that mean,
masculinity.
though?
Let's do both.
How do y'all define it?
You want to give an example? So like for instance, you could talk about like over sexualization of like women, or the idea of like have to being like like what makes you a man is being like tough or like powerful or dominant all the time.
That and
like,
feelings, not being able to
yeah.
express your own feelings.
Well,
I think.
And if you express anything that's not hard, that you're soft and you're not a man.
I feel like it goes back to socialization though, because I mean, like even our gender is socialized. You know, you don't. Well, at least now today, you know, you could recognize yourself with a lot of different genders, or you know, a lot of different groups. So it really all depends on the way you were brought up. I feel like in that sense, you know, what is masculine in your household? What's feminine in your household? What are the things that the men used to do around you? What are the things that the females used to do around you? I feel like it comes back to that, and you know, to call something toxic, it really all depends on, you know, the perspective.
Yeah, like what is toxic masculinity? That's
Okay.
what I'm
The
asking.
perspective.
So what's something toxic that you would call toxic? Like if I were to do it right now, you'd be like, that's toxic. That's toxic masculinity.
I feel like, could we start with just toxic? Could we separate the two words?
All right, yeah, break it down.
Good.
I feel like if you were to do something toxic in this moment, it would be anything that doesn't help benefit the message of the show. I feel like masculinity is very subjective. You know, there are certain things that you might think are masculine that I think are feminine, and vice versa.
Hanging earrings,
Okay, so
masculine or feminine. People old heads especially, cats be coming at me for earrings.
Old heads especially.
Short.
that's a perfect
always come at me.
example. Bro.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
perfect
My
a
grandfather
Yeah,
especially too.
old heads always come at me about my earrings.
You're not an old head like old head. You
No,
a
I'm talking about even 40s and above. I think
40s and
I think yeah.
When I first saw your earring,
Yeah.
it reminded me of probably one of the most toxic masculine figures in history, right? Like Lawrence Taylor, who's one of the greatest football players ever.
Yeah.
But like when you think of what it means to be masculine, right? You think of the hulking football player who's like super G.I. Joe kind of masculine guy, right? Like he wore that earring for years. That was his joint, his go-to.
Absolutely.
You know? So like it strikes me as odd that you would say
Yeah.
old school. That was the first thing I thought of.
Then you got
When I saw
Deion
that.
Sanders. You know, then you
OBJ,
got.
but-
What do y'all think about
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman?
That's out there. It's crazy because like
Dennis
to me,
Rodman.
you see, it's crazy though. To me though, 'cause, like I
This
think
goes
we
back
get
to
Let's
this,
talk.
this sense of gender and gender
Yeah.
roles and what we're supposed to assume, right? Rodman showed up in the middle of New York in a wedding dress.
You?
yes,
Yes.
man, wow.
Back in the day.
Yo, he's
Why?
different.
He don't care.
It was Rodman.
He don't care.
What he
He's
felt
an
like he needed to do
individual.
at the time.
He's unapologetically being himself. That's what he thinks about it.
Or like Pharrell.
No, I don't care. I'm just
He was
saying,
it
why-
GQ
why-
when Pharrell was on the cover of
know the
GQ.
context,
So peep game. Pharrell's like kind of in a jacket like yours, but it's turned into like it was designed to kind of look like a dress almost. But it was a bubble jacket like dress, and the title in the GQ magazine I think was The New Masculine. So it's talking about like ideals and roles of like what masculine means. But when I grew up, in my I dressed like everybody else. Like,
Yeah.
everybody got like 11s,
Yeah,
like you
Jordan,
got
I don't
11s, you
even-
got some
yeah,
12s,
facts.
and then I think it was from like
facts.
my dad, bro, my pops. He said like, so why you stuck following and you supposed to be an individual? And that hit me. I was just like, what do you mean I'm following? Like I'm always doing my own thing. I'm always doing this. But he's like, you buying like $200-$300 sneakers to think you like what? Like for what? To flex for everybody else?
We kind of idolize these material things. And some of it has to do with fashion and culture, right? But some of it has to do with how we present ourselves to the world and the ways in which we think about society. I went to a school similar to Quinnipiac. It was just a little smaller, a lot smaller. But you had folks on campus that had the shoes that might cost a rack. So I was kind of testing the waters to see what's up. So I bought some J's, some 11s.
Yeah.
I bought the Concords.
Ooh.
Low or
And
high?
low,
Ooh.
low Concords.
Okay.
Directly from China. Direct. And they were like $75 online.
Ah, that's
or
why
whatever.
you know you
I
get.
got them. They looked right. They looked crispy. The Jordan wasn't backwards or nothing like that. Like you couldn't really tell unless you had a very, very keen eye. And these passed for like 2 years before somebody said something. And it was my little brother that called me out.